All right, welcome everyone to today's episode. It's the third episode of the AdvisorTech Book Podcast live with Mike LaCours of fpPathfinder. Welcome, Mike.
Hey Joe, how you doing?
I'm good. All right, well, let's get right into it. The first question I like to ask is there a book you've been reading currently or in the past that you like that you want to share? And then is there a tech tool, whether it's AI or otherwise, that you've been playing with that's cool?
Yeah. All right. So I love to read, and I try to read my goal is to do two books a month. I normally
Cool.
fall short, but that's the goal. My favorite book this year is Brick by Brick by David Robertson, and it's really the story of Lego. And so I grew up playing with Legos, loved them as a kid, and now they're still big here as adults. And that book really goes into like the story behind Lego. And it turns out that there was like a rise and fall and then like this resurgence of Lego, which is what
Okay.
we see now.
Yeah.
And so this is a like for people in the industry, you're going to get something out of this if you're in tech or you're an advisor about there's like a cautionary tale angle about what to look out for and how not to like offer more than you really should. Like they they got into like theme parks for a while. Like we still see them, but Lego doesn't actually own the theme parks. They've licensed it out. But then they made like really good partnerships with Star Wars and the book just goes into these great stories that I think there's just tons of lessons in there for what entrepreneurs can bring to their own business, whatever that is. It just really spoke to me
Yeah, no,
in a
that's
lot of
cool.
different
So
ways.
is there a correlation to AdvisorTech and like the category and the map and all that, or not
There's a
necessarily?
well there it spoke to me in a strong way, and when I'm talking to other people in the industry, like they'll come up with a problem, and I come back to the book, whatever it might be. For me, like we have, and we'll get into it. So we make checklists and flowcharts, right? And we have 140. And sometimes people are like, "Hey, like, how many could you actually make?" And it's like, should we go with like, could we have 2,000 flowcharts? Like, what would that business look like?
Yeah.
Like, answer like all these like really technical questions. Well, they talk about that in Lego. Like, there was a time when there were like 70,000 different Lego pieces out there, and they realized that was super problematic for like building, and they started to narrow it down. And how do they narrow it down and get it to like the right balance? Because if you provide too much, it's a problem to manufacture, and if it's too little, you don't have any flexibility. And so how do you get creative? and so they talk about it, and then you actually like look at a Lego kit now and you're like, oh my gosh, like that's so ingenious how they figured out how to use like this little Lego piece in so many different ways. And so it was just like that attention to detail and the craftsmanship that shows up that really applied to a lot of what we do here at FP Pathfinder.
Yeah. No, that's cool. And even like simplifying the number of pieces that they make across their all their
Right.
different sets.
Yeah, it was something like if you introduce a new Lego piece, it costs like $50,000 for them to like make the die.
Oh wow.
And it's like every Lego piece now, it's like there's like 2 or 3 new pieces that they make for each box, but there was a time when it
Okay.
was like 10 to 15.
Hmm.
And so there was like all these problems with how they were growing and making the product, and how they had to refine it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a cautionary tale for a lot of people.
Okay. So to simplify.
Simplify. Yeah, get really
Simplify.
good at a select number of things.
Right. No, Jason Wank's been talking on LinkedIn about how you only need like 5 or 6 tools to run an RIA and you can get to $1 billion. And then like
Right.
I did that real tech stack recently that had, like over 30 tools in it. And people were just like, is that necessary to have 30 different tools to run an
Yeah,
RIA?
what's that incremental value over
Right.
there? And then like
Yep.
just the debt to manage that as well.
Yep.
Like, you know, integrations breaking, things like that. It's like there's a lot to manage. And so you pick up on those parallels over here. It's not just in our space. Not even in like a services business, but in like manufactured goods, the problem shows up there.
Yeah. I love the quote, simplicity scales, complexity fails.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
I think it's an Alex Hormozy quote. Um, Yeah, but it's interesting. No, the tech debt thing, I want to do a Substack on this eventually, but it's like you for every one of those 30 systems, you have a recurring monthly fee or like the cost of the
Right.
software. Then you have a learning curve. Then you have like a team training curve. Then you have just time and space
Yeah, the
and
maintenance, right?
setting
And
clients up on the system and moving data between systems. Like every single tool you add adds more than you think it does to like your work
the
day.
it's almost like there could be a calculator for that. It's
Yeah.
like you enter in like the tool, like how complex is it? What's the cost to like get trained up on it? How much training do the clients need to go through? And it's like you could boil it like you just wonder like, can you sort? Can you build out a grid of just like all the tech tools and those kind of like onboarding costs and like the time that gets translated over into dollars and find out which tools are easy to onboard and get implemented and which ones are really complicated?
It would be fun to do. I have wanted to do that in the past, even like overlay features. So it'd be like you have three tools that have the same feature. Like
Uh,
try to not do that.
yeah,
Or
right. Yeah.
other things like
Do
that.
you do you need that? Right. Like you're seeing a version of that with some of the AI note takers too.
Right. Yep.
It's like if they're coming out in like Wealth Box, do you need what are the benefits of having a standalone product versus one that's kind of baked in, and
Yeah.
where does that trade-off actually lie for you, right?
All right. Next, any tech you're using? New tech, cool tech.
Tech. So, boy, the the newest tech, uh, I don't think it's that new, but it's new for me, and it's not industry specific. Uh, is that all right, or do we need to stay in industry?
Oh no, it can be
Okay.
whatever. It could be a robot vacuum, or it could be
So here's what
Starlink
I've got.
internet.
Uh, I'm always concerned about safety, like safety in the house and stuff like that. So we've got a security alarm, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. But I always worry about like an electrical fire.
Hmm,
Like I don't know what's behind my walls. I didn't build this house. Like it's an old house. So there's a product called Tink, TINQ, I believe.
okay.
And you can check with homeowners insurance. You might be able to get it for free there. But it's a physical thing that you get in the mail, and you plug it into your outlet, and then you sync it up with your phone, and it's constantly watching the voltage throughout your house, and it's picking up on weird inconsistencies.
Hmm,
And there's been a lot of research about these guys, but they're picking up on like problems that can be happening somewhere else on your house, away from where this thing's plugged in, based on like the electrical currents and volts. And then it will notify you on your phone, like, hey, be careful, like you've got some issue with the line somewhere in your house. Call us and we can help you diagnose where the problem is, like probably shutting
that's cool.
certain breakers off. And uh, so that it's showing up as like really catching a lot of problems on somebody's personal situate electric panels,
No, it's just a
their
few
own
days
personal
ago.
electric grid.
Yeah, just a few days ago, we had a breaker that tripped, and then I turned it back on and it tripped again, and I was like, "I wonder why it's tripping." So I asked I asked ChatGPT, and it had like 4 different ideas, and I was like, I don't even know where to
The-
go from there."
right. Yeah. So the idea here is before it gets to the point where your breakers have to trip,
Right.
it's giving you that warning, because that when that breaker trips, that's like you've got a real problem. Like
Okay.
we're shutting things down. It's so
Right.
bad.
Yeah.
And so get this helps to get to helps to warn you before you get to that point.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I'll probably have to look into that. All right, let's get into the topic of today, advisor tech. So, what's your background, and then like, what's your
Yeah,
story starting FP Pathfinder?
sure. So I'm a financial advisor. Been one for well over, I don't know, 12, maybe 15 years. I worked with my father very closely, but even early on, Joe, like I struggled with client conversations, mostly around remembering the planning rules that were coming up. So clients would call up and say, "Hey, can I make a can I make a contribution to my Roth IRA?" And I'm like, "No, you can't because you don't have earned income." And then I would say, "Okay, great. Well, too bad. Like we can talk about something else." And then I get off the phone and go, "Wait a minute. The spouse has earned income. So yes, this client could have done it." Then I got to
Hmm,
call them back and like re-explain the rules. And I hated that. I hated not looking smart and polished in front of my clients.
Sure.
So out of just pure frustration, I started making little flowcharts for myself on common rules. And I would send them around to other advisors and then to bloggers. And it led to a conversation with Michael Kitces. You've heard of him, I think.
I have, yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, I've been looking to start a business around checklists.
Hmm.
You want to pilot a project and see if there's a demand for creating checklists and flowcharts." And so back in like 2018, we we launched fpPathfinder, and we started with like 14 or 15 flowcharts, and then we introduced some checklists. And like, to be clear, this was not really a tech offering at the time. These were like PDFs,
Okay.
and you couldn't even white label them. You couldn't add your logo or anything like that. But they helped advisors answer those kinds of questions for their clients. Questions about, well, what happens when a spouse passes away, or any kind of life event. Like, there's all these questions that come up for an advisor that they might not be really familiar with because it only comes up every so often.
Sure.
And so what do they do? Like, well, you advisors might be like scrambling. They're searching on Google, they're searching online for that guidance, but they don't know if those rules are right or if they're up to date or what. So that's where we came in, and we've ended up building this product with, it's like 145 different guides, and they're helping advisors make sure they don't miss that planning issue, and they're helping to educate themselves as the advisor, and then to turn around and help to educate their clients.
That's cool. So I was talking with a relationship manager at Advison yesterday, and towards the end of the call, he's like, "Here's a feature that hardly anybody uses that I really think they should use." Do you have something like that in that you a feature of FP Pathfinder you really like that you feel like maybe not used as much?
Well, so it like we have like 145 guides, and then we have like there's other features as well, like to help advisors use those guides.
Sure.
But the vast majority of our advisors are using 5 or 6 guides.
Hmm.
And there's like a rationale with like why they're using 5 or 6, but like that blows my mind at times. It's like we have all of this stuff, like this huge library, but you're going to use 5 guides. And like, why is that? And it's like, well, it's easy to just use these 5 with my clients on a systematic way. Like, we'll probably get to some of those reasons. And then
Right.
I'll just use some others like on an ancillary basis. And it shows up in our data. Like, we'll look at some guides. We're like, "Ugh, is anybody, is anybody even using this guide?" But
Yeah.
we know that like there are those situations that come up where that guide comes in and saves the day for that person.
Sure.
So
No, that's super
like
interesting.
like
It's
like
especially with the Lego conversation. It's like if only 6 are being used, how many do you actually need?
well, right. So like there was we've got one guide where it's like on net unrealized appreciation, right? How often does that really come up for a client where you need to like refresh yourself? Like, okay, yeah, it comes up for me. Client comes in and they're like, yeah, I just sat down at the seminar at my office and they started talking about net unrealized appreciation. Like, should I consider that? Like, I can easily pull out that guide and give that to the client. We can go through that together. But we've heard from other people. But then probably the vast majority of people, they're like, well, I know NUA rules like the back of my hand. I don't need it, or it never ever comes up based on my clientele.
Right.
But then you also hear these other anecdotal stories where we had one advisor where they called up and they said, I can't believe I didn't use this guide with my client. And it's only now in hindsight, after I screwed up and gave them bad advice, that I realized if I use your guide, I would have avoid stepping into a big problem.
I wonder if there's a way that maybe even using AI that people can, say, here's the issue I'm dealing with. Do you have anything related to it? Because they probably nobody probably has all 140 guides memorized and knows
Uh,
exactly when to use which ones.
you're right. You're very much right. So like we're not Google. We're not trying to index like a 10 billion web
Right.
pages out there. We have 140 guides. But it's shocking how much feedback we get during that time saying like, "Hey, I still have a hard time finding guides."
Mhm.
It's like for that person, like, could there have been a better way for us to get that NUA conversation at like flag, like, hey, we have a guide for you on this? And like, how do we do that? Is that us building out like our own um, AI enabled search tool where you can like type in your questions in more detail or upload something? Or is that like integrations with a lot of the AI note taking tools? Like those are the paths that we look at.
Yeah, no, I've been writing a lot about Slant recently. I wonder if there's a way you could plug into Slant and they have a nudges feature built in where it's kind of like constantly searching meetings and notes and client details and coming up with ideas of what you should reach out about. I wonder if you could plug into that like ongoing data mining and help with nudges.
Yeah, so they're like just where we see the business as like a potential direction is like I don't see us really investing heavily ourselves in building out the AI tools. Like
Right.
there's a huge investment to actually like do that with craftsmanship and create something of high quality. Like there's significant investment there versus just saying let's spin something up to say that we have some kind of AI feature and then we'll just call it a day and move on. But what's really appealing to us is partnering with other tech tools, like just like you're talking about here, whether it's an integration or it's some kind of embedded offering where exactly to your point, like in let's say your Slant example, it captures a conversation, there's a note, something happens, and it's going, oh wait, hold on, we see an NUA planning opportunity here. Like
Yeah.
you got to go have this conversation. Here's the guide to fpPathfinder, and oh yeah, let's also draft up the email. And so it gets pre-drafted. We attach the guide. You get to like review this email and say like, hey, yep, this is all makes sense here. We're following up on a conversation that happened a couple of weeks ago. We've spotted this opportunity. Like, let's schedule a time to call. Here's my Calendly link. We need to talk about NUA.
Yeah.
And then all you have to do is say, okay, that's great. And you hit the send button.
Yeah.
And now it's like it's automated this whole thing for the client. And the client looks like you actually found a planning opportunity, took the time to draft the email and send it, but in reality, AI did 85% of the work and you just had to double check it before it went out
Yeah.
the door.
Well, I'm actually meeting with those guys right after this recording, so I'll
I'll
bring
I'll
it
just
up.
stick around
Just
afterwards.
stay on. Yeah, there you go. They'll just join us live on this call. No, that's cool
We
because
did it's funny you say this though, because just on Monday we were having our team meeting and one of the pieces of feedback was like, hey, we'd love to partner with somebody wrote in like, hey, I'm using Slant
yeah,
now. They're awesome. Here's why we love them over here. We'd love for you guys to partner with them. And it kind of outlined this exact use case. So
yeah.
it's funny that it kind of came up over here as well.
Well, it's interesting because I love when the AI note taker and the CRM are in the same system because then all the data and the AI engine is working simultaneously. Like, imagine if you have your CRM and your AI note taker separate, and then you're trying to implement a third data
Right.
set. Um, it just makes a lot of sense to me, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
So the whole thing with AI, is like, I mean, we're studying it a lot. I went up to uh, I went to like a continuing ed like leadership course uh, just to learn how leaders are using AI, not necessarily like actually implementing it, but like the leaders are using it. How do you think about it? And
Sure.
there's a lot out there where they're going, everybody is still in like across industry, not just finance. Everybody is in like this experimental mode.
Yeah.
And they're just experimenting with what works, what doesn't. How do you think about it? Where does AI actually fit? What's that role? And here's what I loved about it. Like halfway through, we were able to like go around the room and talk, like introduce each other. There were in this room of 50 people, 5 people were from Google, 3 people were from Amazon,
Hmm.
and like DoorDash. Like there was big tech in this room,
Yeah.
all figuring out how to use this. And in some cases, we're like, you guys are making it. You're leading all of this stuff and what you're creating, but you even don't know how to use it fully.
Yeah.
And so you got to fly out and go to a university continuing ed program.
I think I just formed this opinion in the last few days, but I actually think not using AI is like a differentiator right now. Someone unsubscribed from my newsletter a couple days ago, and I like immediately responded back. Was like, "Oh shucks, I lost my favorite subscriber," because it's kind of a high profile person. Um, and he wrote back, and he's like, "I don't know if this email is automated or not." He's like, "I love your work. I'll see your stuff on LinkedIn because I have been
Right.
sending a lot of emails." Um, and I wrote back and I was like, "No, this is me. I'm like real." But I think there's going to be so much automated communication. I almost think that, being human and actually writing back to people when something happens is going to really
Yeah,
stand apart from all the automation.
right. We've got. Do you know when you go on to like a tech tool and they have like it's called a net promoter score, like
Yeah,
on a scale of 0 to 10, how likely are you to refer us to a friend or colleague?
right,
Like, so there's like a big mathematical formula that arrives like there's a calculation to get to like a numerical score that you can use as a benchmark for within the industry and outside to see like how good are you of a company in terms of your like referability.
right.
And and so there's this magic number when somebody selects two specific numbers on the scale. uh, if they select those, I call them, I
Oh,
track them down online,
yeah,
and I give them a call. I don't send them
interesting.
an email because it's too like it comes across as all like automated.
Right.
And but I call them up and I tell them who I am and why I'm calling.
Yeah.
And then I get to learn more. Like, why? Why'd you give us that score?
Right. No, I've heard it's like the 7 I don't remember
Eh,
what it was, but they were like,
seven and eight,
you're not allowed to
7 and 8.
answer 7. You have to either pick 6 or 8, and when someone is forced to choose between a 6 or an 8, they really have to decide whether they like something or not.
Right. Because in this, if you give it a 9 or a 10, you love the product. If
Right.
it's like 6 or 0, like you don't like the product. And if
Right.
you're 7 or 8, you're kind of on the fence and you could go either way. And so I get really curious about those people. Like, what
Okay.
is it? Like, what's either holding them back? Like, what could we do different? What could we do better to improve? Like, you're right there.
Yeah. No, it is interesting. And I think I feel like Bob Veris is struggling to get people to answer his survey this time around. I think partially people are just tired of filling out these really long surveys about their entire tech stack. So I
Mm.
feel like there's a way to improve the whole like what are you using kind of deal, which in my community I'm posting like real tech stacks. So like people will tell me, here's all the tools I'm using and I'll post it. Um, I think Alan Mueller just did one of those a couple days ago, but on LinkedIn. Um, but I thought it was I just lost my train of thought. Anyway,
But
I think there's a better way to figure out what advisors are using than these surveys. I think there's a more interactive way or a more helpful way.
right, well, I think doesn't Pitses.com have like a beta tech stack section on their site where like I guess
Yeah,
in theory you can put up your tech stack and then share that out.
right. Yep. You can put together the tools you're using. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I do think that there's a big opportunity there of just helping people understand what makes up the tech stack, what makes them different, which ones are really compatible and like synergistic with each other, and which ones are like they're just trying to check a box.
right. Yeah, no, it is interesting. There's so many different combinations of tools, and sometimes I wonder, like, to me, it's super obvious the tools that people should be using because, like, I,
Right.
I did a I did a book on it, and I'm already planning my list for next year. And it's like in most categories, there's like a very obvious winner,
Right.
but still, like, there's so many advisors that are using all kinds of different tools. And to me, some of the especially in the CRM category, like some of the things Slant is doing are so much faster than like manually inputting information to Redtail or something. It's like, man, you multiply that effect over and over and over. Like just the experience using this is so much better.
Right.
But
I think that there's going to be an interesting evolution that happens. Like you go back tech 20 years ago, like The technology back then was you'd get like a DVD or a CD in the mail, and then you would have to install that locally on your computer. They like
Yeah.
the idea of like just downloading, or maybe then you could download the software and install it from the internet. And then like then they said like we're going to just build it natively in the browser. And those companies could innovate a lot faster because than the others, because the others you'd have to like make a CD and send it out, or you'd have to get everybody to download that software and install it, and that took time.
Right.
Whereas folks operating within the browser, they could spin up an update overnight.
Yeah.
There's going to be a new version, I think, that emerges where it's companies like built natively with AI, where they're able to iterate faster than even the ones that are operating as they do right now. So I think like you look at somebody like Slant, like I don't know them too well just yet, but I'm hearing them more and more. Like there's these line of companies that they're just built fundamentally different than any company built like 5 years earlier.
Right. No, it's the speed that they're releasing things. Like sometimes I'll say, "Hey, here's a feature I want," and like the next day they launch that feature, and I'm like, that's insane."
Right.
Um, I just realized I'm wearing a Simplicity Ops shirt. I don't work for Simplicity Ops. I used to work for them, so nothing I say has anything to do with the company.
Okay.
Um,
I'm wearing an fpPathfinder shirt and I am the co-founder. So I guess that
just
works for me.
wanted to clarify. I like what Kate's doing, and I wanted to represent it, but now I realize I'm talking bad about certain CRMs, and it's like that's probably not kosher. So, cool. All right, let's move on. Do you want to do a quick demo and go over some of the integrations and stuff?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to just show. So I'm going to just show a couple of examples over here. So look, we make checklists and flowcharts to help educate advisors, and these are PDFs. I'm going to show um, couple of examples here. You can see you can white label them. Uh, so Joe, like here's how it's kind of set up. Every every checklist has is like no more than 2 pages. It's like 20 to 30 planning issues, and with each one we ask a question, and they're always framed with a yes or no answer. And if you answer yes, that means there's a planning issue. You got to go back and work with the client on it. But if you answer no, it's like there's really no planning issue. You can just move on from there.
Okay.
And so the idea is with one of these checklists, you can send this to a client before a meeting, have them complete it, and then afterwards you're able to prepare for the meeting. So when you actually meet with the client, you're not uncovering things in the meeting. You've already uncovered everything. So there's no
You're just
blindsiding that
you're
happens.
just reviewing the yes column or the no column?
Right.
Okay. That's cool.
And so here, like, what issues should I consider before the end of the year? Like, this is really relevant right now for us. It's end of year planning. This is the most popular guide here at the end of the year. People are sending this out to their clients. In this case, they're going to send this out to their clients in like the form of an email. It's like, hey, it's end of year time. We're going through some account stuff right now. Uh, please go through this. Check if there's some questions you want to talk about. Reach out, give us a call. Or the advisor's already done the work and they said, hey, we've looked through your accounts. There's a couple of things we want to talk with you about. Uh, we got to try to make an end, like some contribution. We've got to either take a distribution. We got to do this thing for taxes, like whatever it is. And if you want to look more, take a look at this attachment because this has a lot more detail in there. So in those cases, the email is the executive summary. And then if they want to drill into the details, there's a guide here to go into the details.
Cool. Okay. And these are available in other formats as well, I believe?
Yeah. So what I'm showing here are the PDF versions.
Okay.
So you just get this. It's a 2-page PDF. If you wanted to add a third page where you have either a disclosure or just some like marketing information about your firm, you can put that on there. Uh, I can pull it up in another set of slides here, but we have interactive versions of our checklists. And and so in that case, instead of sending out a PDF, you're sending out a link to the checklist. And there the clients can go through on their phone or their computer, they're hitting the box, they're hitting the answers yes, no. If they need to type in some more information to give some commentary, they can do that. And then when they're done, the client hits submit, it all pipes over into their CRM. And currently, the way it's set up, the information comes over, it gets put in as a note. All of the planning issues that were identified get bubbled to the top of the note so you don't miss them. And then it takes all of those planning issues and turns them into one single task. So you can see like John Doe's planning issues summarized.
Okay.
So
Cool.
if you the client completes this thing, they're coming in next week, there's going to be a task that gets generated that just highlights all of the items that the planner or that the client checked yes to.
Okay.
And then there'd be another task where if they don't know and the client leaves it blank, then the next task is like, you're going to have to get some clarity on these answers here. We don't know if there's a planning issue because it was left blank.
Yeah.
And so here, this is an example of a flow chart. I put this one in here all the time because this was my own personal pain point. Just clients would call up asking this question, and I couldn't remember the rules. And so we we put this one together here. Now you can see they always start up here in the left corner, and there are these yes or no questions, and you can move through. Like, do you or your spouse have earned income? Like right there at the start of this our interview here, I should have flagged for that, right? I was just asking if the client had earned income, and so
Right.
I but no. I make sure like, oh, do you or your spouse? Like, oh yes, yep. Now we can move on.
Okay.
You'll notice that. So this is 2025. These numbers are all going to change next year. And so we keep all these guides up to date. So like this one's going to get scrubbed here. Actually, it's probably getting worked on like today because new annual limit numbers for these contributions just came out today.
Is that a lot of work keeping all these updated, or how do you do it in a methodical way as new information comes out?
Yeah, so it's we have like project management tools that we use where all like it's certain ones where it's designed for very much like visual um, change management,
Okay.
and so we're logging in all those individual changes. There's systems in place so you don't have to like recreate it every time. Like very quickly you can pull up a guide and know which which numbers need to get changed each year. But there's it's still a manual process over here,
Sure.
the way that we do it. And it's in part because we don't just go through this and update for annual limit number changes. Like the rules constantly change. Like there's a ton of stuff coming through because of OBBA changes, and even stuff from like Secure Act 2.0. I think there's still some more stuff that's getting rolled out this year, or maybe it's gonna or got delayed and it's gonna get rolled out like the following year. But the point is like it's not just like just doing like a replace all and just swapping out like $7,000 moves to 7,500. The team goes through and they're reviewing these guides multiple times each year.
Okay.
So chances like generally what happens is we'll update all the guides for to get all the annual limit numbers in. But then there's usually some last minute changes that will happen, like some last minute rules get passed before the end of the year, and those will go into effect early 2026. And so then we move into this crunch period like Q1. We have to now go through and incorporate a lot of changes that got implemented or passed or went into effect at the start of the year that we didn't really know about. Like anything with OBBBA, we've known about that for like 4 months. So they're basically baked in already. We just haven't released them yet because they haven't gone into effect.
Okay.
But there'll be new rules that come in, and then we have to go through and audit them. And so we do that during the summertime. And what's cool there is that we also get lots of feedback because we've got like over 5,000 advisors that use fpPathfinder. And so we get a lot of feedback like, hey, can you clarify this point? Or I've got a question for you here. Or it opens up like entirely new planning conversations as the rules change. And so these guides are like living documents that keep evolving as the nature of the planning conversation changes.
Have you thought about starting a user community?
I uh, I know where you're going to go with this. Uh,
I pitch
we
everybody on
have
this.
thought
Everybody
about it,
needs
but
a
no,
community.
it's not a path for us.
That makes sense. Cool.
Uh, yeah, look, I got this other guide here. This is called our master list of goals checklist, and I love this one because uh, this taps into a lot of behavioral research that's come out that Morningstar did several years ago. And so, when you go to a restaurant and you think you have something in mind that you want to eat for dinner, but when you get to the restaurant, you open up, you see the menu, and then you hear the specials. You're like, oh no, I didn't want carbonara tonight. I want this. I don't. I want the salmon. Actually, it sounds really good. That same psychological principle applies to financial planning goals as well. You might have some planning goals in your mind, but when you see a list of them written out like this, there's a 70% chance or like 75% chance that you're going to change one of your top 3 financial planning goals,
Hmm. Yeah.
all by seeing a list.
So it's like these are the top goals you should have, and then you kind of compare what's in your mind to what the most popular goals are.
Well, right. It's like, well, the examples that we've heard about are like somebody going like, I got to be thinking about retirement. But then they see this and they're like, no, do you have any parents or other family members you want to care for? It's like, I didn't think about that, but my mother's getting really old. Like, what if we like built like an in-law suite for her?
Yeah.
How would that work? And it's like, okay, great. Now we can have a conversation. Like, how does that come up? Like, how could we do that? And that might have been something that would never come up when advisors talking with their client if the advisor's saying, what's on your mind?
Yeah. Okay. So
There
you've got retirement goals, family goals. It's sorry, it's just small on my screen.
oh,
Self development and professional goals, and then asset and debt goals. I
yeah, and then
just was
there's a
listening
second
to the.
page too.
Okay, I was just listening to a diary of a CEO podcast with Natalie Dawson, and she breaks goals into personal, professional, and financial. And so I thought that's a very simple way to think about goals.
Right.
So you've got a little bit more flavor, but I probably want to get this guide from you and use it in the program I'm putting together because part of it is like a goal setting exercise.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, happy to do that.
Cool.
So the way that we see a lot of advisors using these, I guess yeah, I'll put my screen back up. So we interview a lot of our members to find out how they're actually using this. Like if we were to distill down the best practices of using guides to educate clients, like this is where we show up. Uh, like an advisor will receive an email from a client and saying, "Hey, I got a question. I'm thinking about changing jobs. What should I be thinking about?"
Right.
Well, like right now, the advisor's got to like type up this big long email, or they've got to go find another article. And like, how do you get something that's like more technical or more tactical planning? Like what they're doing is they're writing up an executive summary, a couple of sentences. They're dropping in a Calendly link saying, "Hey, we should talk. Here's the time." In the meantime, check out this guide. It's got like 20 different planning questions just to get you thinking about this. So the planning conversation, when they actually talk, it becomes a much more productive conversation
Right.
right there.
Yeah. I feel like if you almost have like something advisors could keep on their desk to remind them, like every time they get a question or every time they're in a meeting, like I wonder if fpPathfinder has a guide for that. Um, like a
Yeah.
nice pen or a little calendar book or something. It's like, how would I
So
remind myself to like always be thinking about? I wonder what guide there is for this.
it gets to some areas that we always look to grow towards, like in terms of like what do we want to keep building out. And what we've done, we did this like maybe 3 years ago, and then 2 years ago, we we reached out to all the financial planning tools, and we said we want to go into your software, and we want to like recommend where different guides would show up.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So so Holistiplan was one of our first ones, and we've done that with IncomeLab, MoneyTree, and Asset Map.
Okay.
Now it's a super simple integration. Like it's not there's not a lot of technical aspects to it, but Holistiplan is, I think, a terrific example because you can upload the tax return. Holistiplan analyzes it. They generate this like 2-page summary, and that second page of the summary is like all these planning observations.
Okay.
And it's in there where we have our icons to all of our guides referenced there. So
Sweet.
if the software, if Holistiplan says, "Hey, we flagged uh, charitable giving," like, "Hey, you wait a minute, you should do a qualified charitable distribution," like you meet that fact pattern.
Yeah.
But the advisor's like, "I've never done a qualified charitable distribution. I don't even know how to have that conversation with a client." Like, no,
Yeah.
now they can, because now there's a little icon. They click that, it takes them to fpPathfinder where they can see the flow chart and say, "Oh, I got it. I can help explain this to a client to show them why this would make a lot of sense."
Yeah. No, I need to intro you to Flextract too, because Flextract is like data gathering. So basically, they dump all the documents and then it creates some reports, and I think that would be a great place to have those kind of guides too.
Yeah. See if I can.
I do want to get to the client service calendar and how Michael Whitman is using it. I think that's his name. Um, I love how he like preloads every single count or every single month ahead of time, and then they just automatically send out, and it's like a monthly touch point.
Yes. Yeah. Here, I'm going to pull up something here. Here. So this is what this was his inspiration over here. All right. So for people that can't see, client service calendar. This really is like based on this whole idea of. Uh, well, let me back up. Here's how I first heard about a client service calendar. I was at a conference and I asked somebody, "How do you work with your clients?" And he goes, "I send out 4 emails a year."
Hmm.
I was like first of all, like what? I don't even know what that means. What are you talking about? And he goes, "Oh, okay. In in Q1, I send out an email to all of my clients where I say I'm just focused on taxes. So if you have any question about taxes, tax planning, I want to talk with you now." And what he was basically trying to say is like, if it's if it's something to do with investments or insurance, like try to hold it off. Like we'll get to that. And
Yeah,
then so in Q2, he sent out another email. We're just looking at investments and cash flow. And Q3, we're just looking at insurance. And in Q4, we're just looking at end of year planning items. That was
yeah,
kind of the checklist I showed earlier.
right.
And so what he ended up doing was saying, I've got 4 different sections where I send this email out to all of my clients. And I'm not saying we have to talk. I'm just trying to give them some probing things to think about so that if it comes to mind, they can schedule a time to talk with me, and we can have a focused conversation. And then I can stay in like tax conversation mode for one part of the year, and then investment focus for a second portion. And I can be efficient in my conversations. I'm not trying to jump around from like insurance to investments to cash flow all in the same day.
Right. Yeah.
So what we put together here was kind of like just like ideating on how a multi-touch point client service calendar could look broken out throughout the whole year. Now we've got, I don't know, what is this? This is 12, 3, 6, Okay, like 15, 16 examples here. I would never suggesting anybody do 16 touch points. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know Michael does. He's a power user. He figured out how to make it work for him.
right,
We see a lot of people doing really well with like 2 to 4 touch points. Right? It doesn't have to be like this huge thing, but they start here. Like, what are the right touch points for my business, my clients? And so we'll see things where it's like, what issue should I consider at the start of the year? That's a pretty popular one. You can start
yeah,
that off at the start of the year. It gets people thinking about their finances. It's very much like New Year's resolution focused over there. Uh, then there'll be something here like reviewing beneficiaries can be an easy one to score some points. Doing something on insurance that comes up, investments. But people are tailoring this. Like, remember I was saying, like they're using like 4 or 5 guides. Like that's what the average advisor uses in their business.
right.
Chances are there are 4 or 5 guides that come from this list right here,
Okay.
and they're using it in that way.
And you have like draft emails for each topic, right? And then
Yeah, I don't have it here,
interactive.
but y- uh, every guide here has an email that really goes into that, and it just says it's not like a really complicated email. It's just saying, hey, right now it's start of the year. We're looking at a handful of issues that are like really topical right now for us,
Yeah.
and click here to see the checklist. So call to action one. And then if something like stands out for you, schedule a time to talk with me. That's call to action number two.
Okay. I'm
What
I'm realizing
we
there's a flaw in my whole podcasting thing is that the founders of some companies are not typically the ones that do the demos. So it's like if I'm trying to do a podcast with founders and do demos at the same time, sometimes it doesn't always um, work perfectly. But that's funny.
yeah, well, so
No, no,
so
it's
for
it's
for
it's an
people that want like
observation. I'm trying to figure these things out as I'm only on episode 3, so we'll get better at it.
so yeah, there's we have lots of videos online. You can even go see the you can see a bunch of these guides over here.
Yeah.
Uh, so what's interesting for us, uh, like just kind of building on the client service calendar, like when we hear a lot about people as they're thinking about scaling their business and they hear a client service calendar, they'll go, well, I've got I'm afraid to like send out 4 emails. Like I only want to I'm really designed to like meet with my clients once or twice a year. And if I'm going to meet with them 4 times a year, like that sounds like a lot more work.
Sure.
But the data doesn't show that at all. What's happening is that they're still reaching out, sometimes at the same frequency that they always had.
Okay.
And in some cases, what's happening, like I think with Michael Whitman especially, he's got 12 touch points.
Right.
But people reach out and they said, "Hey, like 3 months ago, you sent out this email where it was all about insurance reviews, and I was looking through it and it raised a question, but I knew that we were going to meet later on in the year, so like I just kind of tabled it."
Yeah.
So what it ended up doing for some people there is it just helped to raise those planning issues that otherwise may not have come up, but it was kind of getting pushed together into the like a typical meeting schedule. It wasn't creating more work.
Could these links possibly be sent out via text too, like on a texting platform?
So we're not like super tech forward in that sense. We
Yeah,
give the
no,
URL and
yeah.
then like however you want to send that out. So uh like we're not actually sending anything to the clients directly.
Y Right, no, that's not what I'm asking. I'm more asking, like, all this stuff is designed maybe for email, but it could probably just be copied and pasted into a text too.
It could.
Because 'cause I'm trying to design, like, the best tech stack, and so, like, a platform like Current Client, you could send out these interactive guides over text on Current Client, and that might be a even more personal way to interact with clients.
Yeah, exactly.
So, cool. Um, anything on the roadmap you wanna share or just the, the category as a whole, maybe the advice engagement category?
Well, I guess for product roadmap stuff, like, uh, we got some really cool things that were that are gonna be coming out, next year. Uh, so when I'm talking, like, for power users over here, w we had this thing that we're going we can see, like, how people are using the tools, and we're going, "Wow, there's a group of people that are using interactive checklists, like, really often." And it was, like, a small group, but they were, like, using it 10, 15, 20 times more frequently than this other group, than, like, anybody else. So I called them all. Like, "How are you using this? Like, what are you doing different?" And they all use it in the same way. They created they kinda paired something together with Calendly on their own,
Hmm,
so that, when somebody goes to schedule a meeting with them, there are numerous prompts in there for them to complete a checklist.
hmm,
It's like, "Hey, before we meet, fill out this checklist." And it would
right.
show up multiple places. Like after you schedule the event, it redirects them over to the checklist and it says, "Before we meet, please fill out this checklist. We really need this."
Yeah.
Or in the emails that come from Calendly, say like, "Hey, you have an upcoming meeting coming up." In the body of the email, saying, "Don't forget to schedule the complete the checklist." And so one thing that we want to be doing next year is actually building that as an integration right there. Make that really
Okay.
easy for people. The other thing that we're excited about, and this is more for like a lot of our existing users will find a lot of value here, but our checklists change quite a bit. I mean, some of them they probably changed 2 times last year. It's like they changed because the annual limits are changing, and then they changed because of OBBBA, where they
Right.
got changed there. And so what that means for some people is that they've got to download the checklist and then put it into their workflows again. And so what we're working on now is to make it so it automatically updates if you want it to.
Okay.
So you can drop that link in there or you can use it in your marketing efforts or like wherever you want it to go. And if you set it to automatically update, it will.
So, like, the URL will be stable. So,
Correct. As
if
a
things
state, yeah.
change.
I
Okay.
never knew
That's
that.
that's
That's
cool.
cool.
Yeah, no, it's so school is like that. Like, in the classroom, each course has modules, and, like, you can move modules into other courses, but the URL still stays the same. Because, like, if you drag something from one module to a different module and, like, the URL changed, like, it would the URLs would be breaking constantly. But,
Right.
it's kinda like as soon as you create it, it gets a URL, and that URL never changes.
And it never changes. Right.
That's cool.
So that's like so like the way we operate, we send out an annual survey to our members, all our users every year. And we ask a lot of different questions in there all around what features do you want to see us develop? And then we sort through that to figure out what can we actually build? Like what's realistic with the year? What can we do? And then we go ahead and build on that. And so like we try to like really emphasize with our members and our users, like we really listen to your feedback.
Yeah,
And now there's a lot of people, so it's hard to like incorporate everybody, but we really try
sure.
to figure out like what do you want? Because we're going to work towards building towards that, whether
Yeah.
that's features or new guides.
I love that you just pick up the phone and call them. That's, I think that's a really cool way to build a
Yeah.
business, just to have that personal connection.
It's just it's different. Like if I sent the email out, if I send if I call if I call 20 of our members, I'll be able to talk to about half of them. Like it might be a little bit of phone tag back and forth, or it might be like I call them and then I send a follow up email, like letting them know, like, hey, I call. Like, is it easier to go through email?
Sure.
50% response rate. Like I can
Okay.
learn so much, but if we just send an email out, nobody ever,
Yeah.
no, everybody thinks it's automated.
Have you ever seen an advisor's inbox, the amount of junk they get?
Well, I am advisor. Like
Oh, right, right.
it
Yep.
you cannot get off these email lists. Like
Yeah,
I say it's like this is spam, this is spam, this is spam, and they still
right.
somehow end up in my email
Some of
box.
them don't even have unsubscribe links. I use, superhuman. So superhuman just control you, and then click down twice, and it unsubscribes and deletes everything from that email
Oh,
address.
I like that
And
idea.
then you can block them too. But you learn all these like little keyboard shortcuts, and you can just blaze through your emails. It's pretty awesome.
That's good.
Cool. All right. Well, we're coming near the end of the hour. Anyone in the audience have any questions for Mike? And then we'll just wrap up.
Yeah.
All right. I don't think we have any
All right.
questions. Thanks for coming on today and
Yeah,
sharing
Joe.
more about from the founder's perspective of the company and the tools you're providing to advisors. I'm excited to include FP Pathfinder in my 2026 AdvisorTech stack. And now we'll have this recording that can
Awesome.
go along with it. So we'll have
That's
like
excellent.
a recording and a physical book in like
Y-
a
Yeah.
blended experience. It'd be great.
Yeah, what you're doing is it's just so awesome. Like I love going through your feeds on LinkedIn, like, and you're really kind of cutting through a lot of the stuff that's out there and helping to organize it.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm having fun. So I'm
that's
a
great.
bit introverted and a little awkward, but I do have fun when I'm doing this stuff.
But I don't know, like we probably have to wrap it up, but I'm the same way. Like I'm a
Yeah,
giant introvert, and so even coming on to like, okay, got to go talk to people, go on a webinar. Like
right.
here we go. Everybody knows afterwards I'm done for the day.
Yeah, that's the same with me. We'll get better at it though, right? You get better with practice.
No,
No, you don't.
no.
I did one speaking engagement at Nashville Edge, and I was like, man, that destroyed me. I don't think I'm a speaker, but
Well,
we'll
so
see.
so so actually, that's how I realized I was not going to be a financial advisor.
Oh yeah,
So I was a financial advisor, and I went to a strategic coach, and like I'm sitting there, and they're going, Michael, you are a financial advisor, so your highest and best use of time is to meet with clients. I was like, I don't really want to. Like that's a lot of work, like a lot of prep. Like you got to be on, like all this stuff.
yeah,
Like okay, I'm going to do it. And so I had two client meetings in one day. And that was on a Thursday. I remember that very clearly because for the entire day Friday, I just sat at my desk, like trying to recover from like two intensive, like retirement planning meetings, like were like
yeah.
really heavy meetings. And I went back to strategic coach and like, I was wiped, totally wiped. And they're like, you're not a financial advisor. Like, what else do you want to do? Like, what else excites you? Like, I like making flowcharts.
Yeah. No, it is interesting. I even as like I'm creating this new program. All these programs have like these weekly Q&A calls. So I've throw some weekly Q&A calls on the itinerary, and I'm like, I don't want to do weekly Q&A calls. And then I have like, schedule a one-on-one with Joe, and I was like, I don't want to do a whole bunch of one-on-ones. So like I'm trying to build a program that like doing things that I actually enjoy doing.
Right.
I think that's okay in
It is.
today's day and age.
Yeah.
Just build the work that
Have
you like.
you heard of Working Genius? It's Peter.
I've heard of it. I haven't read the book or taken the
Okay. The
exercise.
I don't like the book,
Okay.
but the exercise is amazing.
Hmm.
Like it unlocked so much about who I am and what I like to do.
Yeah.
And and so I always thought that I liked to create things and I would like show things like to Michael Kitson. I'm like, hey, what do you think about this idea?
Right.
And he's like, no, no, not that. Like you got to think about it a different way. And I always thought I was bad at creating things.
Okay.
And then this exercise going through it showed me that no, you can creating is one area of like a working genius,
Yeah.
but discerning is another area of working genius. And when I took like the assessment, I was really high in invention and
Okay.
really low in discernment.
Hmm.
And that's when I realized, oh, but Michael's high in discernment. I mean, like we all know, like he can look
Very,
at something and
very
say good or
a little
right.
bit too high.
And so then I realized, like, wait a minute, that's why we work well together.
Right.
Is because I can do this part and he can then come in and say like what works and what doesn't. And so
Yeah.
now like our whole team is built and we're all operating within our own working genius.
Yeah. No, that's great. All right. Well, we'll end on that. I'll link the working genius
Yeah.
exercise in the notes. Thanks so much for coming on today. And I'm excited to go share this with the world.
Yeah. Yeah. This is great. Thanks, Joe.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right.
Bye bye.